Name is Mokone, and I'm from South Africa. I'm an M&E practitioner. I think one of the things that I've learned, or we're learning about the conference, is how to make sure that the M&E results of all the projects that we use becomes usable. So it's not just about producing a report. It's not about how fancy the report is or how big the report is. It's also about, will that report be used? And the questions and the answers that we're trying to, or the questions that we're trying to investigate here is how to make sure that your product can be used, your product is usable. And this is what we've been trying to investigate this side. Maybe the highlight is the learning component, the learning component of your results, making sure that there's some kind of a learning, almost like learning transferring from your results. The issue is, how will this contribute to a greater learning within the project, within the organization, but also how will that contribute to greater change management? So it's not just about it being used, but managing or being able to influence the use. And one of those things of being able to influence use is to make sure that the product can contribute to greater learning or increased learning, if you may. An example that we're given, for example, you might produce a report on maybe better communication that comes from the findings of the report of a particular evaluation, and you find out that maybe the results were not used to communicate, or maybe the project had breakdown in terms of communication. So another way of making sure that the organization understands the findings, is able to utilize them to change their own processes, but is to also make sure that, will there be a new communication plan going forward? Who will lead the communication plan? And how will that communication plan influence the entire change process within the organization? So it's just a link from the evaluation, producing the findings, making sure that they're used, but being able, as an evaluator or in evaluation, making sure that the findings contribute to some change or learning process. Yes. I think, to my own context, is that last process, having opportunity to influence use. And I think many times when you're an evaluation practitioner, especially from a consultancy, we stop only at producing a report. We stop at maybe outlining use, but we actually never get the opportunity to influence learning or to influence change. But I think, so what I take with me from here is, which steps or which processes or mechanics that you can use to be able to influence that change or that learning after you've produced or after you submitted the actual report. Knowledge management, I think, was an interesting one. Maybe I could say two. But knowledge management was very interesting. What kind of knowledge does or should an organization keep, and in what formats and what processes? But also, what's interesting is, what do we do with that knowledge? But an organization can be good at storing and keeping and managing knowledge, and using it for their own learning, and that would be a tick. But the next step is, how do we use what we know to change? And I think there is a disjuncture between having great knowledge and being able to use the knowledge to change, and the willingness of the organizations to change.